Hello boys and girls, welcome back to our daffodil pictures. Remember, the point of this assignment is to create movement and or rhythm in our pictures, and we're going to do that by using some of the elements of art, line and shape and color, to enhance our pictures so that they feel like there's some movement. And there were two different kinds of movement that we talked about. We talked about movement of your eye across the picture. So we talked about where you would put your leaves and your flower petals to create that movement. And we also talked about the actual movement of the subject matter. So how does an artist make the subject look like it's moving, like the wind is blowing, the daffodils or the trees or something like that. So one of the ways that we were gonna create both of those kinds of movement is by having lots of curved lines in our picture. So today is the day we're going to add color, and we're going to use color to enhance that movement in our picture. Let me show you how I did that. Supplies we're going to use today are just oil pastels and watercolors for the background. So you'll need your blue watercolor paint, most likely, and a water cup and a brush. I'm gonna make the stems of my, I'm gonna color the stems like just a nice medium grass green. I'm gonna push down a little bit so the edges of my stems are a little darker, but I'm not gonna worry about that if it doesn't end up looking like that. And then I'm gonna color those stems in. And I'm gonna do that for each of my flowers first. Now you'll see how ADHD Miss Hales is. I forgot I was coloring in all my stems, and now I'm going to color in my flower heads or the trumpets. I'm going to use a nice medium yellow for this, and then I'm going to color my petals in with a slightly lighter yellow. I'm pushing down hard so I get that really thick, rich, juicy, saturated color that we're looking for. I'm not coloring like a kindergartner. You can't see any white paper left intentionally in where my flowers are. I'm gonna fill all that flower space in with, or flower shape in, I should say, with color. I want the inside of that ruffly center to be just slightly darker, so I'm gonna go over that with orange. And remember, that's how we blend our colors with oil pastels. We layer them. And we can layer them partially or just a little bit, or in this case, the entire inside of that little trumpet head I want to be just a little bit darker yellow, like a really light orange. It's okay to peel the paper off your oil pastels if you need to. Now I remember why I wanted to color my flower heads in first, because I didn't want to drag my hand across them and smear them. That's why I did that. I'm going to color the stamen, the part of my flower that has the pollen. I'm going to color that like an orangish red color so they stand out a little bit. Now I'm going to go back and finish coloring in my stems and my leaves. I'm going to color the front of my leaf the same color green that I used on the stem of my flowers. And then the underneath side of my leaves, I'm going to color one shade darker green, because I want that to look like, hey, this is the underneath side of my leaf. It's blowing in the wind or it's flipped over. So that's going to be a darker green. I'm also going to come over the lighter green of my leaf with either a yellow or a lime green color if you have. I don't know how many greens you have in your oil pastels. You should have at least 3. You could use white too. You could use white, yellow, or like a lime green. So I'm gonna, in some places on the top of my leaves, I'm gonna make those areas even lighter green. So what's gonna happen there is it's gonna look like the sun is just, hitting that part of the leaf a little bit in those certain areas. And you don't have to scrape away any of your oil pastels. The light green will actually do that for you, and it'll put the light green there in its place. Here I am trying that light green first and then going over it with my stem green color. So either technique you want to use is fine. I kind of liked it better when I did the dark green and then went over when I did the medium stem green and then went over that with the light green. So either technique is totally fine. It's definitely going to take you 35 or 40 minutes to color these in. So I'm going to give you as much time as I can for you to finish these. Once you finish with your oil pastels, you're going to get your whatever color watercolor paint you want to use in the background. I used blue. You're going to get those cakes wet. And then you're gonna paint your background in watercolor. I wanted it to just look like a nice blue sky spring day, but you're welcome to use whatever color you want in the background behind your flowers. Fill in each of the white spaces. Use the largest brush that you have for the job. The oily, waxy stuff that the pastels have will push the water away, but if you go over your flowers a bunch of times with the paint, eventually you'll start to the color will fade into the background, and so we don't want that to happen. So try to paint around your flowers and leaves as best you can. Oil pastels leave these big globs of color on your paper. I tried to pick most of those up before I painted. It just makes your paper neater if you can pick a lot of those big globs of the oil pastel up. All right, boys and girls, I gave you my best tips and tricks for creating movement in your daffodil drawings. I hope you enjoy these and have fun making a beautiful spring picture. I will see you next class.